In this video, I'm going to show you how to sew your stuffed animal together. First of all, you are going to need to make sure that you have all of your layers finished on your stuffed animal, and it will need to be pinned together. Then you can grab a needle with some thread. I'm going to use black thread to sew it together just so you can see my stitches. But normally most students would use probably yellow to sew this together so that it blends in, but it's completely up to you. Now we are sewing through 2 layers of fabric, which is a little bit different than we did on our first sewing project. So since we have 2 layers of fabric, I do not want to anchor my knot on the back here because my knot would show up. So what I actually need to do is I need to knot it on the inside of my project. So I'm going to peel back and I'm going to stick my needle in about a pinky's width away from the edge, and I'm going to pull my needle through so that my knot is attached on the inside like that, because when I cover it up you won't be able to see it then on either side. And then I'm going to start sewing. You can either choose to use the blanket stitch or the back stitch. Those are the only 2 stitches that are allowed for sewing it together because they're the strongest stitches. So I'm going to choose to do the blanket stitch because that's my favorite stitch. When we sew this stitch, remember we're going to go forward the width of our pinky finger, stick our needle through, and this time you do need to go through both layers of fabric. So unlike our first project where we just went through 1 layer of fabric, you need to go through 2. I'm going to pull my needle through, and then I'm going to stop, make a circle around the needle, and then I'm going to pull it up through the middle. And I'm going to anchor my first stitch. And then I would continue going around my stuffed animal until I get either all the way around the stuffed animal or until I run out of thread. There is a good chance that you will run out of thread probably 3 or 4 times while you're sewing it together. And if that happens, you will need to tie off your needle and rethread it. So right now I'm getting pretty close to needing to rethread. So I'm going to stop on this stitch and I am going to open up my fabric, and this is where I put my knot to hide it. Again, we don't want it on the outside of our animal, so we have to hide it on the inside. So I'm going to poke my needle through just a little bit of the fabric, push it all the way through until about 3/4 of the way, and then I'm going to wrap it like the candy cane. This is the same knot we've been doing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pull it down, put my finger on it, and then underneath my finger it just made a knot. And here's a little trick. Cut yourself off a nice tail, so a nice long tail like this. And then what you can do is you can actually tuck this whole thing into your stuffed animal. Nobody's going to see it anyway, so you can tuck it in there nice and easy. And then I would need to thread up a new needle, and then I would start at this point, and then I would keep going until I had to stop again. When you get all the way to about here, where you have about a 3-inch opening, this is where I would stop. So I would sew, and then I would stop about here. And you need to stop here because you need to have a space to stuff it, and that's where that's going to be.